Very often what holds us back in life and from attaining our dreams are these 3 ways of being that I'm about to talk about. It's a thought process, and it's the most destructive process that there is. And we're in it all the time, all day long, every day. We're moving through this thought process. Individually, as a collective, we're going in and out of this thought process. If it causes wars, it causes people that love each other to not talk for the rest of their lives and then regret it on their deathbed and not even remember why it is that they didn't talk. It tears apart friendships. It tears apart families. It tears apart countries. This is called the 3 R's. The 3 R's. And the first one is called resentment. And these 3 R's build upon each other, right? If you don't clear one, then you go to the next. The first one's resentment, and we're in resentment all the time. We might not be aware of it, but it happens all day long. Wake up 5 minutes before your alarm. What do? Oh, why did I have to wake up 5 minutes? I needed that 5 minutes of rest. Oh, man, I don't want to get up yet. But you get up, you might be having a perfectly nice day, and then something happens. It's, that feeling of, can't believe that. Why did that happen? And we get into this place of resentment, right? And we'll resent big things. We'll resent small things. I could wake up in the morning and the sun's not out and be like, it's cloudy. Some people, like, if the sun's out, they'd be like, it's hot. It's hot out. It's winter. Oh, it's cold. Oh, man. Weather is a big one that people use to create suffering in their lives. Unneeded suffering. Not able to do anything about that. Can't do anything about the weather. When we get into the this like place of resentment, it's kind of like this feeling of, man, what the hell? Why did that happen to me? Why me? Why today? Why is the computer acting up? Why did it have to start these updates right when I'm about to get on a Zoom call? Why are they calling me? Don't they know that I'm on a call? I'm on Zoom? Don't they know that I'm at work? These little things that come up where we go into this resentful place. Think of Karen. Finding ways to be resentful, to be stirred up, to be offended, right? So the definition for resentment, any emotional response that can be considered negative to something that has happened or something that we think has happened. If I was at work and I walked in, my friends were standing around the water cooler talking, friends, coworkers, and all of a sudden they stopped talking. What might I assume in that situation?
That they're talking about you or me. That's what I'd assume. They're talking about me.
Yeah. They must be talking about me. I just know it. Why else would they have just stopped talking? They're talking about me and they're talking about something bad, right? It's any emotional response that's considered negative. When we say that's considered negative, let's think of anger. Is anger a negative emotion? We got some yeses. We got a Let's say that there was someone that was bullying my kid. Let's say it was a teacher, an adult, that was saying some things to my kid, talking down to my kid, and I got angry. And I went over and I did something about it. And I said something about it. Is that a bad thing?
No.
No? Why do you say no, Mary?
I would see that as a fair response to feeling, protecting your child, stepping in as feeling your role as protector and nurturing. I don't see that as a negative response. The person receiving it may feel it's negative. From my perspective,
That's an example of a emotion that's often considered a negative emotion. That's not negative in that circumstance, right? Someone else could see it that way. And so when we're talking resentment, again, that is considered negative, right? It's not circumstance, it wouldn't be considered negative. And so then the other part of that, it's something that happens or something that I think happened. And that example of my friends at the office stopping talking when I walk in, that's something I think happened. That's an assumption I'm making. I'm making up these stories in my head. And I don't know if they're true or not. We tend to believe those negative stories, right? It only makes sense. We start to connect the dots. It was like, well, this happened and this happened. And if this is true and this is true, then that must mean this is true as well. If we don't clear this level, if we don't acknowledge that we're in resentment and clear it, then we're going to go to the next level, the next R. And the next R is resistance. Resistance. And this is the realm of shoulds. They should be different. They should be doing something else. With the example of the office, well, they should be more thoughtful. They shouldn't be talking about me. And in that situation in the office, they might be like, hey, Lorraine, we're going to lunch. You want to come with us? And I'm like, no, I brought my lunch. I know I never bring my lunch, but I brought my lunch today. That's resistance. Resistance is not accepting what is. Let's say that I have a partner and I come home from work and they didn't take out the trash, right? Or I'm leaving for work and I see the trash isn't taken out, right? And I'm like, first I go to resentment. They did it again. They didn't take out the trash. I have to do everything. They always do this, right? So resentment. And then we go to the should. They should be able to do this without me telling them to do it. They should just know to do this. This is their job. This is a man's job. Even if we haven't clarified whose job it is, I just believe I'm right. This is a man's job. They should be doing this. This is shoulda, coulda, woulda, and no one wants to be should on. This is resistance, resisting what is. And we feel that in our bodies, right? It's like, oh, we have that resentment. And then we have the resistance. And the resistance is like, you know what? I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to give you the silent treatment. You're going to ask me how my day is? What's going on? Fine. Yep. Oh, no. Yep. Everything's okay. Yep. That's right. Rather than being with what is, addressing what is, having a conversation about it, right? If we don't acknowledge that we're in resistance, we don't clear it, then we go to the final level. And this is the big one. Because there's a price that we pay for all of these R's. We pay a price for all of these things, but we pay the biggest price for this last one. This last one, it'll affect our health, it'll affect our well-being, and it's revenge. It's revenge, right? This is where we attempt to get back at someone. Oh, well, you yelled at me. I'm going to yell back at you. It's meeting force with force. You did this, so I'm going to do this back. And often we do it really sneaky. I'm not going to let you know that I'm doing it. Oh, you're not going to take out the trash? Oh, guess what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to be nice to you at all. I'm not going to kiss you. I'm not going to hug you. I'm not going to touch you. Definitely not going to make love to you. I'll teach you a lesson. I'm going to make your life hard. I'm going to make it difficult. You want to talk about me around the water cooler? You know what? When you're at lunch, I'm going to go in and I'm going to exact my revenge. I'm going to mess with your files. You guys have some good ideas, some good revenge ideas?
Sounds like fun.
Oh, a client called. Oops. That memo just went in the trash.
Cling film over the loos, under the seat.
Oh,
Cling film?
Like plastic wrap over the toilet.
Yeah, like between the loo and under the seat, between the loo and bowl.
We've got a creative
Put
one.
the seat over it though.
We've got a creative one.
Old one. We all did that at school.
Oh, I don't know that one.
It's a classic.
Where have you been, Lorraine?
Sit down, and then I would think
Because you
I
put
would
the
see
seat
it.
on top so that you still sit on the seat so you don't see the cling film straight away, and then you pee and it comes out the sides.
Oh man, missing out. Thank you. That's a really overt one. Often we do covert stuff, like the implicit stuff. You're not going to know that it was me. You might not even know that it happened, but I know, right? How you can define revenge is drinking poison and expecting the other person to die, or grabbing a hot coal and expecting the other person to get burnt.
A dish best served cold.
And so if I serve revenge cold, let's say I wait 10 years to extract my revenge, watching Breaking Bad, and this person got revenge after 30 years. 30 years, they got it. If you were holding revenge for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, what do you think that might do to you?
I think it depletes you. It's like draining, exhausting.
And it can't ever actually be satisfied. Say they exact their revenge after 10 or 20 years. All they're going to be left with is a hollow feeling. Like, it's not actually going to make them feel better.
Mm-hmm. So let's say it's a parent or a sibling, right? I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to punish you. I'm not going to talk to you at all. I'm going to cut you out of my life because I want to get my revenge. Now, that's different from, hey, it's not good for you to be in my life. This is toxic. This isn't helping me. So I'm letting you go, versus that's my revenge. I hope it hurts you. And then thinking about it, right? That ex-boyfriend or girlfriend, ex-partner, right? This is really going to get them. This is real. Ooh, if I do this, if I post this is really going to get them, right? It only hurts ourselves and it depletes our joy. And what happens if we're not living from our joy?
We might look to substances for joy or have to rely on somebody for joy, and that's unfair to them.
Yep. Not living from joy will tear up your body.
You just live a bitter life. You're not fulfilled in a way, or you're not growing.
Yep.
You're not doing anything. You're just yucky.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is that we're doing it to ourselves. We think it's the other person that's doing it to us. Oh, well, it's this way because of what they did. No, we're doing it to ourselves. We're absolutely doing it to ourselves. So we've got to clear each level before we can go to the next one, right? What animal did not discover water?
Fish.
A fish. That's right. And why did a fish not discover water?
In it.
Because it's in it. It's swimming in it. It's all around it. It's like water. What do you mean water? I don't know what water is. So these 3 R's, the resentment, the resistance, the revenge, we're swimming in it. It's everywhere. It's all around us. It causes death. It causes destruction, disease, war. These structures in place that you've all heard from me, like these structures are going to crumble. It's holding those structures in place. We all believe that we're right and that we can't let the other person off the hook. And it's only hurting ourselves. And we don't even see it. It's on the news. What is it that you see on the news?
8 people shot in a mall.
Why did that happen? What was behind that?
That's the debate.
It starts with these 3 R's. Resentment, resistance, revenge. There was nothing intervening in the beginning. There wasn't the awareness to see, like, oh, I'm showing up like this. I'm making these assumptions. I'm creating these stories. I'm holding and withdrawing. I'm having withholds and charges, and I'm not doing anything about it. And it proceeds to revenge. Anything that you see on the news, it has to do with these 3 R's. I know someone that works in the news industry, and people got so tired of hearing about COVID that they decided to put one positive news story in. This is what's on the news. It's being reported because it's all around us. If you get on social media, you see it. Someone not liking a post, disagreeing with the post, they get resentful of the person, And then maybe there's some resistance. Well, I'm just not gonna come to your party. And then if they don't clear that, it moves to revenge. I'm going to destroy them. I'm going to ruin them. This happened with my sister and her ex-husband. He took something small and it hurt his ego. It was an undercover, happy family. He was a good dad, and then revenge took over. He didn't care how much money he spent in court. He wanted to take her out. Even if it cost him more money, he didn't want her to have any. He wanted to take her out. He wanted to take the kids away. Even though the courts would never agree to that. She didn't do anything wrong. He's like, I'll bleed her dry because I can. Because she did this thing and I didn't like it. And it was wrong. And I'm right. I'm right about this. And continues to find ways to take her back to court just to fuck with her because he can, because he has money and she doesn't. These kinds of things happen all the time in our world. And so if we can identify it, if we can recognize it, then we can get out of it, right? And there's ways that we can get out of this. The first thing to do to get out of this is to get more information. And so we've talked about the steps for transforming conflict, right? Sitting down and say, hey, there's something I want to talk to you about. Is this a good time? When would be a good time, right? And we discuss it so that we can get more information. I walked into the office today and you all were talking and laughing and having a good time, and then all of a sudden you stopped. And I got to tell you, I made up this story in my head that you all were talking about me, and you're talking about how you didn't like me, something bad. For all I know, they could have been planning a birthday party for me, right? We've seen that on sitcoms before, right? We get more information. Hey, is this true? Is this what's happening? Let's pause. Let's slow down. I want to check in and see, is this what's going on here in this situation? Because this is the way it seems to me. Get new information, a new perspective. They could also be going to a friend and say, hey, can I talk to you? I'm getting really spun out here and I want to be responsible rather than just like, hey, I want to bitch. I want to bitch. I want to complain, and I want to get you on my side. And I want you to be like, oh yeah, they're such jerks. That's not responsible, right? What's responsible is for me to say, can I talk to you? Because I had this thing happen at work and I know I could just go to them and ask them about it, but I just want to make sure that like I want to check myself first and sort through things first before I go and talk to them about it. Can I talk to you and you tell me your perspective on things? Maybe you see something else that's going on here that I'm not seeing. So we can ask someone that's a trusted person that's not a part of that, who will hold us accountable rather than fuel the flames. Oh yeah, he's such a jerk. He never takes out the trash. You're right. You should punish him.
With resentment, say someone's like, Britt, you're a dumb bitch. And it's not ambiguous. It's very clearly a charge. Is that a time where I would get more information? Hey, are you having a bad day? Or what kind of a bitch am I? Like, how do you get more information?
Well, that's one way to do it, right? The first one is get information, new information. The second one is have clear, honest, open communication. And so that's when you said I was a bitch, I felt confused. I felt hurt. I was wondering what's going on with you. Is there something else going on here? Because what's the alternative if you don't do that, right?
Well, when I think of resentment, I think of the term building resentment, holding on to stuff, creating narratives, shutting down.
So you hold on to stuff, and what happens when you hold on to it?
You go to the next R of resistance.
Exactly. When you're doing this, you're doing it for yourself, right? You may also be doing it for the connection because you care about that person or because you have to be around that person. But ultimately, you're doing it for yourself. There's studies out there that it's the thing that bothers us the most, that like weighs on us and like cycles through our mind and doesn't go away. It sits there and gives us this sense of like, oh, I don't even know what's going on. It's this limbo state. And when we know someone doesn't like us, it's like, cool, I know where you stand. You don't like me. But when there's someone that I'm like, I can't really tell if you like me or not, like, was that a real compliment or was that condescending? Are you making fun of me or was that an actual compliment? I'm not sure what's going on. And those tend to be the relationships that weigh on us the most, when we simply do not know. And so when we can get new information, when we can get perspective, when we can talk about it, then that helps us to resolve it, and we're resolving it for ourselves. You all have heard of karma, right? And we tend to think of karma as like, oh, that's something from a past lifetime, a lesson, or something I did, but that I'm paying for it now. But karma is something that hasn't been completed. When we have karma in this lifetime, it's because something hasn't been completed from a past lifetime, right? And then we can have karma within this lifetime. So think of this as completion. Think about the things that weigh on you the most, that drain your energy when you think about, oh, I got this project, I've got the taxes, I've got this person that I had a disagreement with, and we still haven't talked about it. I don't know if we ever will. Those things that are uncompleted, where the loop hasn't been completed, where we haven't looked at it, figured out where we stand, whatever it is, those are the things that tend to weigh on us the most. Would you all agree? Yeah. Yeah. When we go through and we check off those boxes, we have the to-do list. It's like complete. It feels so good. In the relational arena, when we can just, oh, I don't want to have this conversation. So I'll just avoid it. I'll avoid. It can create neurosis. It can create mental health issues. It can create disease. So if we can address things, talk about it, find out, yeah, maybe she thinks I'm a total bitch. At least I know where she stands, and I'm doing it for me. Then the third step that we would do, how to get out of these 3 R's. The third one, this is the big one. This can be the most challenging one to do, but it's the most powerful, and that is forgive. And that means to let it go. And it's the only way out of revenge. The only way out of revenge is to forgive and let it go. That doesn't mean that you need to let the person back in your life. That doesn't mean that you forget and be like, oh yeah, that narcissist, that abusive person, I forgive. No. You can still have boundaries. You forgive, and you're doing it for yourself. And so if you look at the word forgive, when you for something, it means when you put it ahead of something, it means you're doing it as before, right? And so you are giving as before. If my partner doesn't take out the trash, and if I've worked myself up into a place of resentment can go on for a long time. And I had this experience in my own marriage, and that marriage ended for different reasons, but there was something that happened. This happened multiple times, but there was one time in particular where I caught him lying to me again. It was something small. If you're lying about the small things, how do I know I can trust you about the big things? And then whenever he would lie about the small things, it took me back to the hurt from the big things, right? Like when he cheated on me. And so he lied about smoking in the car. I was like, hey, if you want to smoke, he didn't smoke all the time. We had kids, and I didn't want those toxins in the car. And he'd been doing this for years, and I found out that he'd lied. And then he's like, no, I'm never going to do that. It's like, you can smoke, just don't smoke in the car. I'm not here to control you, but our kids go in there. And if he didn't agree, we could have a conversation about it. But instead it was like, okay, there was agreement in place as far as I was concerned. And then I found ashes. I'd like smell stuff and be like, were you smoking in the car? No, I wasn't smoking in the car. Oh, so what are these ashes here in the back seat? Here's evidence, right? He never apologized. and I can say never and mean it. We'd both go to the first R of resentment, right? Oh, she's telling me what to do. I could smoke in the car if I want to smoke in the car. Why do I need to be accountable to her? And I'd be like, he lied to me. I feel like I can't trust him. I'm so mad. I feel so alone, whatever it is, right? So there's resentment, and then there's the resistance. You know what? Just not going to talk. We went 6 months without talking to each other. We talked, but whenever we talked, the mechanics of running a household and the kids, we didn't talk about anything personal for 6 months. And I was sure we were getting divorced. I was planning my stuff, and then revenge. And ultimately, I had to ask myself, do I want to keep doing this? Do I want to keep living this way? And I forgave and I let it go. And I would do that over and over again because I chose to keep my family together. That was more important to me. After 6 months, I'd be like, hey, can we talk about this? The revenge and the resentment would be similar things. I'm not going to talk about you, with the idea that this is going to hurt you. And then when it appeared, months go by and seem to be getting along fine without me, I guess it's not hurting you. Guess what? I'm not going to cook for you. I'm not going to clean for you. I'm not going to do your laundry. That'll show you, oh, you can do all that on your own? Well, what can I do next so that you feel it? But ultimately, it weighed on me. I didn't want to live like that. So forgive. Forgiveness is the only way through it, right? And so that's give as before. So after talking it out, talking about how we felt, then I'm going to cook for you or iron your clothes or whatever it is that I was doing is a part of my giving and my service to him and our family, and same with him, right? When we move through these steps, these 3 steps of getting information, having clear, honest communication, and the forgiveness, this is coming from responsible. This is what it means to be responsible versus victim, right? Because the 3 R's, that's victim. That's being in victim mentality. And are there times where we're victims? Yes. Yet what happens if we hold on to victimhood?
You're disempowered.
Disempowered. I don't have any power because I'm a victim. I'm a victim to this person and what they did. I'm a victim to the world. I'm a victim to the government. I'm a victim to these powers that be. I'm a victim to my school that gave me a bad grade.
What if they cut all ties or they request there be no communication?
That's a good question. If that's not available to you, it sounds like you've gotten some more information by talking to other people that are involved. That's one thing you've done. And if the person still doesn't want to talk, then it's up to you to forgive. And not only forgive someone else, forgive yourself, right? Because when we're coming from responsible, we realize that there's always a part that we played in any situation. There's something that we chose that brought that situation about. It may have happened regardless, but when we can come from a place of choice, we have empowerment. This is a process of empowering yourself. And it may weigh on you. I talked about my friend that moved in with me for 9 months and the disagreements that happened there because we had a different context, right? I thought she was staying temporarily and then I was being a support and she thought I was being a landlord and was supposed to do all this stuff for her. When I notice things come up about, feeling justified that I'm right, I notice what is and I be with. I'm reserving judgment. I take total responsibility for the parts that I played through the years and see ways that I showed up, things that I could have done differently than forgiving myself, knowing that I'm not to blame because there's nothing I could have done differently. And I know that because I didn't. There's nothing they could have done differently because they didn't. It's just what is. To give as before, you could do a token for yourself that doesn't even involve them. Like you could write a letter And maybe you send the letter, maybe you burn the letter, right? The sacred ceremonial fire on the full moon that's coming up on Sunday. So even within your own mind, you can think, how did I give to this person in the past? Or what would be a token of how I gave to this person in the past? And you could take that thing and put it by a tree and honor them. It's really for you, so that you're able to release it and let it go, so that it doesn't keep bothering you. And that situation with my friend, I've let it go for the most part. It doesn't mean that it doesn't come up sometimes and I feel sad. It doesn't take away my emotions around it. Yet I've released. I've realized what I can and cannot do, or what I'm willing or not willing to do, and moving on. All right. This is responsible. The 3 R's are victim, right? It's the difference between feeling that life is happening to you versus for you. It's the difference between feeling stuck and movement, moving forward, being a leader in your life.